you doing today, guys? Welcome back to another day of 7th grade math. This is Mr. Gomez, your favorite teacher in the whole world. And today we're gonna be analyzing categorical data, okay? So there are real world situations in which each of the three ways to categorize data in this lesson are more effective. So the three that we're gonna be talking about, they're gonna be the most effective ones, okay? And it says over here on the right side, we have what is called dot plots. That's the first sample. The next one is gonna be a bar graph. And the last one, of course, is gonna be a circle graph. Now, each of these are gonna be used for different things. So we gotta pay attention how we can use each of these type of different situations. So for example, the first one, it says, how many of each type? And if you notice that, that's bold. So they put that on bold letters for you for a reason. And it says, over 6 days, an appliance store sells, they sell 2, 8, 1, 4, 6, and 7, 8 air-conditioned units. These are discrete objects, so they can be counted individually. They can be counted individually. There can be 3 units or 4 units, but there cannot be 3.21 units, okay? So you can only buy the whole thing. So basically, we're talking about whole numbers all the time. So the dot plots illustrates this beta the best. How many of each type? That's how you're gonna decide if you're gonna be using a dot plot or something else. If you notice, we have days and units sold right there. So on the first day, they sold 2 units, which are represented 1 dot each. Okay? Every dot represents 1 item. Every dot represents 1 item. Okay? So for example, you have 1 and 2 because they sold 2. On the second day, they sold 8. So you should have 8 dots right here. On the third day, they sold 1. On the fourth day, they sold 4. On the fifth day, they sold 6 and 7 on the sixth day. Okay, and that's how many dots you're gonna put in on each of those numbers. So basically, the bottom is just a number line. The bottom right here, this is just a number line. And then over here is gonna be individual items. How many of each? Okay? And then you can just label this, how many sold. Now we're gonna move to how much of each type. And in this case, we're gonna be using apparently bar graphs. And we're gonna see what the difference is now, okay? So again, it says over 6 days, the average amount of juice produced per plant was 1.25, 3.21, 2.23, 5.5, 5.76, and 6.12 kiloliters. That means thousands of liters. Kilo means 1,000, okay? So, these are continuous amounts, so fractions of an amount are measurable. What does that mean? So that means that you can have fractions and decimals. It means that you can have fractions and decimals. That's why we have decimals right there. It says calculations are possible in fractions of a whole and subject to the precision of the least precise measurement. So in this case, a bar graph gives you the best picture of the data. So if you notice over here, the first day was 1.25. And apparently over here we're gonna have the number of amount of juice. On the bottom, and these are the we're gonna have the number of days on the bottom, and this is the amount in thousands. Okay, so we're gonna have those 2 labels right there. The bottom is gonna be the number of days, and the y, because remember, this is the x-axis and this is the y-axis, just like on the number line, kind of. So we're gonna have a relationship. So on the first day, you had 1.25. And if you notice this bar graph right here, it goes more than 1, but it stays less than 2. So a quarter is gonna be like 0.25, right? 0.25 is a quarter. So if you notice the distance right here, what goes after the 1 is just 1/4 of that whole section right there. That's what it is. So the bar graph, it goes just a little bit over 1, but it doesn't go all the way to 2. So you gotta estimate right there and just play with it. So on the second day, it says 3.41. So I know it's gonna be less than half of less than 3.5. So I just gotta, if you look at this, half is all the way right here. It doesn't get there. So you can still graph this, okay? And then for the third day is 2. Let's see, 2, then 2.23 right here. And then we have 5.5. If you notice, this bar is between 5 and 6. That's what we want. And then we have 5.76, just a little bit more, and then 6.12, just barely above 6. So on bar graphs, you can graph decimals and fractions. It is measurable. Now, the next one, we have circle graphs. And it says, what part of each type? So, the first one was how many? That's whole numbers only. The second one for the bar graph was how much? You can have decimals and fractions. The next one is what part? So whenever it's asking you for what part, you know that you're going to be using a circle graph. And we have learned about this before. So let's go over this one real quick. It says, what part? Now it says, 6 clothing charities collected 212, 175, 405, 129, 373, 511 winter coats. What percentage of the total collection did each charity collected? So every time they're asking for the part of or the percentage of, you're going to be using a bar graph. So it says, what percentage? So it says over here, the codes are individual items, right? Just like before, you have whole numbers. But the question says, what part of the total each charity collected? So the circle graph can show the part of the whole thing. Remember, to find the total, all you gotta do is add all of those number of codes collected. That's gonna be the total. So part over total, fraction, and that's it. So, for example, we have 2 samples right here. Give the chart type for each situation and explain your answer. Number 1, a bicycle shop sells 23, 4, 17, 11, and 23 bikes over 5 weekdays. So basically, like for Monday through Friday, they're going to sell 23, 4, 17, 11, and 23. Which one will you use? What type of graph will you use in this scenario? Do we have whole numbers? In this case, we do, right? So it's not going to be either the bar graph. So it can only be, is it asking for the percentage or anything like that? No. It just gives you the whole number. So the best representation for this is going to be the dot plot. Why? Individual items. And you can write a dot plot like this. For example, this is Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. And on this one, you do 23 dots up. And then 4. Then 17. Whatever it is. And then 23 again. 11. And then 5. Whatever the case may be. That's how you do a dot plot. Now, number 2, it says, the town 5 traffic enforcement officers hand out 14, 8, 10, 4, and 15 good driving citations. What part of the total number of citations, again, part of the total, which one are we using? Part over total. What type of graph are we using? Which one is the best one for this case? We're looking for a part. So this case, we're going to be using the circle graph. So it's part over total. And that's it. So basically, to determine what you're going to be using, you got to ask how many of each type, and that's going to be for the dot plot. The next one, how much of each type, that's going to be your bar graph. And the last one, what part of each type is going to be your circle graph. And that is it. Now, if there's any questions, please leave them down in the comments below. If you learned something today, hit the thumbs up button. Don't forget to comment, share, and subscribe. That is it for this one, guys, and I'll see you on the next one. Goodbye.